my name is Cameron, also known as Venus Theory, and in this video, I'm here to walk you through getting started with the Wavetable editor inside of FazePlant. FazePlant's Wavetable editor is unique in its approach, and it's really powerful under the hood. That said, it's pretty easy to get started creating your own custom wavetables from scratch or using samples in only a few clicks. So, let's hop into the DAW and take a look. It is a beautiful day outside, the sun is shining, and I don't know about you, but I can't think of a better way to spend it than in here making some wavetables. To begin making our first wavetable, we'll go up to the generators here and add a wavetable oscillator. Another handy step whenever you're designing wavetables is to go into the modulators and add an LFO, then make it relatively slow and tie it to the frames of the wavetable oscillator. This way, it will scroll through the entire wavetable and we can get an idea of how everything is sounding. To open the wavetable editor, we'll click on the pencil icon here. This top bar here shows our wavetable over time. We can right-click to scrub through this area to view the frames, you can hold Shift for finer control when scrubbing, or left-click when scrubbing to make a selection. The center area here shows the current frame of the wavetable, and the bottom area shows the harmonics for the frame currently in view. The wavetable editing tools can be accessed in the left-hand side. First, we have Select and Transform. This allows us to select regions of the wavetable, or a region of a specific frame. Next up is the crossfading tool, which allows us to crossfade between points in the wavetable. Below that, we have the pen tool, which is a drawing tool that automatically fills in the points with adjustable curves, the pencil tool, which allows freehand drawing, the wave tool, which allows us to insert a specific type of wave like sine, saw, triangle, or square. Below that is the harmonic editor tool, which is a bit more of an advanced feature, but it can be fun to play with. And finally, the filter tool. This allows you to apply a filter to the waveform that you can morph and move over time. I'll be demonstrating that later. Here in the upper right, the grid allows us to adjust the resolution of the frame grid. And then, the magnet tool allows us to enable or disable snapping to the grid for certain tools. To begin creating our first wavetable, we'll go up here to the top and select File, New. To begin, let's go to Frame 1 and then access the pen tool to draw in a triangle waveform. Now at the moment, you'll see this is rounded and is more like a sine wave. To adjust this, we'll right-click on each of the points. Now let's go to the last frame here and use the pencil tool to scrub in something just kind of random. At the moment, you'll notice we only hear these two frames of the wavetable if we play it. So we need to apply a crossfade. To do that, we'll go to the crossfading tool here, and then we can select between linear and spectral modes. FazePlant's editor is unique in that it's largely non-destructive, so you can change many things on the fly, like switching between spectral and linear mode to see what sounds best for your wavetable. In this case, it doesn't make too much of a difference, so we'll go with linear. Generally speaking, linear mode is great for simple changes, and spectral is great for more complex information, but you can try both and see what sounds best. Now that we've created our first basic wavetable, we can select Done to commit these changes. Now, this is maybe not the most interesting wavetable ever, so let's go back and apply some more frames to it. To undo what we've done so far, we can go up to Edit and select Undo. Now we're back to Frame 1 and Frame 256. Let's go in and add some shapes with the Wave tool. We'll go to Frame 72 here, select the Wave tool, and then we can insert a saw. Then we'll select Done. Now let's go to Frame 177 here, use the Wave tool once more, and input a square wave. Then we can select Done. To complete this wavetable, we'll now need to crossfade between these points. If we go from 1 to 256 and apply a crossfade, you'll notice that we lose our frames here in the middle. Instead, what you can do is click the crossfade tool and then click each point. This will apply a crossfade to these points and interpret the data in between them. Now that we've completed the crossfade, we'll select Done. Let's take a listen to what we have so far. Next up, let's try out the filter tool. To begin at frame 1, we'll go in and set our initial parameters. Let's make this a fairly resonant filter that opens up over time. To begin moving the filter around, we can go up to the top and select a new frame. Then, we'll make some changes to the position of the filter. Let's go to a new frame and then sweep this around and maybe make it slightly more resonant. And then finally go to our last frame and make it wide open. Now, we can hit Done to commit these changes and take a listen to what we've made. Next up, let's add some effects. To begin, we'll go to the top and select an effect. Let's use Sine FM. Similar to the filter tool, effects are applied by selecting a new frame and then adjusting any available parameter of the effect. Let's start at frame 1 and set the amount to maybe 15%. Then we'll go somewhere here in the middle and set this to maybe 20%. Then we'll go towards the end and drop this down to 10. And then finally go to the last frame and enter a value of maybe 5. Another interesting thing to note is that these changes are actually reflected in the wavetable itself. If you click and scroll on the 3D view, you can see all these changes in real time without affecting the Wavetable editor view. Now that we've set up our effect, we can click Done to commit these changes. Since we've made quite a few complex changes to this wavetable, it's a good idea to apply some fixes. Up here in the top, you can go to Fixes and select Normalize, which normalizes the amplitude of all the frames, and then Remove DC, which removes any DC offset. Generally speaking, once you've finished creating your wavetable, it's a good idea to apply both fixes. Now that we've made all these changes and applied our fixes, let's check out what we've created. I think in this case things are sounding pretty good, but I think the first half of the wavetable maybe doesn't sound so great. Another great feature to know about is the ability to select a region of frames and use that to cover the entire duration of the wavetable by copying and pasting. To do that, let's begin by finding a point where we want to begin the wavetable, I think around frame 160. Then we'll click and drag through to the end to 256. One problem you'll notice is that a wavetable consists of 256 frames and we don't have all 256 selected. However, we can stretch out only this region to the entire wavetable with the copy and paste function. Once we've made our selection, we'll go to Edit and Copy, then select the entire wavetable and go to Edit, Paste. Now, as you'll see in the wavetable here, we've stretched out that region to fill the entire wavetable. Now that we've made our changes, we can select Done to commit it and take a listen to the final product. Another great way to create custom wavetables quickly is by importing samples. Let's import this jazz organ sample here. To do that, we'll just click and drag our sample and drop it into the wavetable editor. What I've imported here is a single note with no change in pitch over time. As you can see up here in the top in the root pitch section, you can see that FazePlan has automatically correctly detected the pitch as C3, but if you need to manually set the pitch, you can right-click and enter that here. In case you're curious, the +01 here indicates the fine-tuning in cents, so if you need to fine-tune your wavetable for better results, you can enter a fine-tuning value in cents here. Over here to the right, we have the Phase Alignment tool, and similar to the Morph tool, these aren't applied when you click them, so you can select through these and see what sounds best for the sample you've imported. In my case, Correlate seems to give the best results. One thing to note with this sample is it has a bit of silence on the end. To trim this up, we can go up to the top and click and drag this handle and trim it right to the end of the sample. Now that we've got this all set up, we can hit Done to commit this to the wavetable, and we've imported our first sample as a wavetable. Let's take a listen. Next up, let's import a synth sample for something a bit different. Let's take a listen to this one. This is a sample that changes pitch over time, so it might need a bit more work once we import it into FazePlan. Let's drag it into the editor here and take a listen to what we've got. In this case, we might need to first change our phase alignment mode to see what sounds best. Towards the end here, it drifts off a bit too much into noise territory. Let's begin by trimming up this sample. Then let's trim up the beginning as it's a little bit weird as well. Now let's take a listen. One way to enhance this octave pitch slide would be to go in and apply a pitch bend using the pitch bend control here. To do that, we can select a frame, and then we can enter a pitch bend value and go more towards the end and raise this up even higher. This can create some really interesting effects. Let's take a listen. And I think that sounds pretty interesting. So we can hit Done to apply this and commit it as our wavetable. Now that we've created our first wavetable, let's take a listen to it in the context of an actual patch. As I'm sure you're aware, wavetables are a great way to create interesting, complex sounds with lots of movement over time, and FazePlan makes it easy to import or create your own in only a few clicks. And I think that about covers it. Creating your own wavetables is a really great way to get your own unique sound in only a handful of clicks. So I hope you found this video helpful to better understand how to approach FazePlan's wavetable editor and get started creating your own custom wavetables. And that wraps it up, so thanks for watching, and for more information on phase plant, you can head over to kilohearts.com.